Okay. Hi, Ashley. How are you today?
Good.
Good. I'm glad you're here today. And I'm sorry about the tight quarters being in the office in my small office car.
No problem.
But I'm glad you're here and opening up to me today because talking about the incident that happened to you not long ago. I mean, it was about 2 months?
About 2 months now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Actually, I think, what's the date today?
The 24th of August.
Yeah, so 2 months ago I was still in the trauma unit.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Yep. How long were you in the trauma unit?
5 days.
That's a long time. Yeah.
Well, 4 nights, and then the 5th day was like, I didn't get released until like 7, 8 o'clock at night, so it was like, ooh. It was a long day. You know, doctors take forever to actually get to a room to discharge you. But yeah, 2 months ago today, I was laying in a hospital bed in a trauma unit. Yeah, crazy.
It is.
That it is.
Yeah. How did you feel throughout that?
Well, I don't know. Being in the hospital was like weird. Like it didn't feel real. Like I was just there for like some stupid stomach bug, not like because my throat was nearly slit open. I didn't really feel much in the hospital, honestly. I was like really, I don't know, detached from my emotions. Yes. Like everyone was like coming to visit me, like, oh, I'm so sorry, what happened to you? And like even hearing the doctors like, Mrs. Erdy, you almost died, and you had to have all these blood transfusions, and you lost X amount of liters of blood, and it was just like, okay.
Like when you were taking it in, but you weren't really
I don't even know if I really was taking it in. I just kind of felt like they were talking to someone else. Like it was a weird, like kind of outer body type experience, like people crying, and I'm just kind of sitting there like I didn't really feel anything, really. Not even really pain. It was weird. Like I was just, I don't know, maybe, I'm sure it had a lot to do with the pain medication. I was on so much medication that week, and just the whole, I don't know, everything. It was weird. I didn't really feel much at all. I was pretty detached.
It happens going through something like that you endured, and being, like the doctor said, you very close to death, and dealing with a traumatic event like that and detaching yourself. Many people have done that. It's sometimes easier that way than to deal with the actual pain.
Yeah.
And your body too might have been pushed with a lot of adrenaline. And when your body is pushed with a lot of adrenaline, it's kind of hard to feel much. Yeah, a lot of things could be running through your mind and your body.
I was definitely just going through the motions.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here today.
Me too.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Absolutely. I have to say, you are brave. This is a big step.
Thanks.
Yeah. Be proud of yourself.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Are you proud of yourself? Or is it kind of hard because it's...
I don't know. Everyone's like, oh my God, you went through that crazy trauma. You almost died. You were in the trauma unit, and like you went back to work both jobs and school full time in 2 weeks.
Fast.
Like that's like, and I was supposed to be out for 6 to 8 weeks, and I went back in 2 because I'm a single mom, so I can't really afford to be taking time off. And I pushed myself, but then I pushed myself too far. Like physically, like I was exhausted. Like the blood transfusions, the trauma, everything like that, then the PTSD, and it was just like I was literally like falling asleep behind the wheel. Like I was sleeping on my lunch break. I would get to work, and I would literally like I don't start seeing patients till 9, but I punch in for 8:15, and I would literally just like sleep before I'd start seeing patients, sleep on my lunch break. Like I was just so exhausted. I just felt like I was like, I don't know, the days just kind of blurred in and out. But what was reality and what wasn't was like distorted. It was weird. It's hard to like
explain.
Yeah.
No, I understand though,
because it doesn't really sound like it makes sense, but
it does.
Just kind of how it was for me, really. But I feel like I just like jumped back in head first, and it just kind of made things worse because I wasn't mentally ready to tackle everything on. But
not like you knew that this was going to happen.
Yeah, no.
This is totally unexpected.
Completely.
So all these feelings coming up, it's like, how are you supposed to act? You're supposed to, act however you are, but we're trying to find ways of being able to cope with it, and it's good that we're talking about it. And
yeah.
In the middle of the session, I want to go over the incident, and we'll take it step by step.
Okay.
And I do some mindfulness and deep breathing in between. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So for mindfulness, I gave you the magnets. I'm glad that you're playing with them.
Sorry.
No. Please do.
When I talk about this, I don't really know what to do with myself sometimes, so it's just kind of nice to have like a little something to fiddle with, and kind of helps me. Sitting here makes me feel like there's a lot of pressure on me, so paying attention to these makes things a little bit easier.
Makes you feel grounded too.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not not paying attention.
No, I know you are, because we're talking, and I know you're paying attention, but it's good to have that.
Yeah.
I like playing with those, having that magnetic force and feeling that there's literally nothing there really, but you feel it. I like that feeling. And we have peppermint oil, so you smell, so you know you're here in my office, safe.
Yeah.
Okay? You're not back there. Because this was taken at a bar, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not at that bar. We're just talking about it. Okay? Take small steps with it. Okay?
Yeah.
But before we begin, I just I have 3 questions, if you don't mind me asking.
Sure.
Okay? All right. How often do you think about the incident throughout your day?
Every day.
Every day. The whole day, almost? I imagine you're really busy with work.
Not the whole day, because I do have a lot of things to think about, but whenever I get downtime, it's like small things, like moving my neck too quick, and because they had to stitch it back up, so like the way when I move my neck, like the elasticity isn't, like it's tighter, like just small things, like if I move my neck too quick, or if I touch my neck and I feel my scar, and then I feel like I'm triggered, or if I see the car that the girl used to drive, or I look in the mirror. So yeah, I guess there's a lot of triggers.
Yeah, the car. Wow.
The car is big, and I feel like I never used to see that car at all, and now all I see is that car. It's almost like life is mocking me.
It's almost like you're targeted to see
the
that
universe
car, right?
is just like forcing me to see this damn car. And I search for her face in every crowd. Everywhere that I go, I search for her face. So yeah, sometimes it can be intense. Some days I can get hours without thinking about it, but even if it's not present, like at the forefront of my mind, I'm like super hyper vigilant. Like before, like me and my kid used to joke around and like scare each other and stuff like that. Like just like kidding, like in the house, they'd be like, we can't do that anymore.
Startles you more.
No, like it sends me into a full-blown panic. Like I like got aggressive with her, and I didn't even realize that I was like, and she was joking around, and I was like, don't, you can't do that, you can't scare me like that. And she's like, Mom, like, and like even in that moment, like I couldn't regulate myself enough where I was just like, explain to her, I was just like you can't do that, like why would you think that you can scare me, like you just scare the shit out of me. And she was just like, Mom, we always do that. I mean, later on, obviously, when I was able to like calm myself down and stuff, I just kind of explained to her, like, this is a symptom, like I'm sorry, I didn't mean to have an outburst on you like that, but I don't even know how to control myself when it comes to that stuff. So, but yeah, it's just like crazy, like loud noise, motorcycles scare the hell out of me. We were at a carnival, and balloons popped. That freaked me the hell out. And it's like, it's not even just that it scares me, I just can't bring myself down. Like I just get so worked up, and then I get sick to my stomach, and like sometimes I feel like my body reacts to things before my mind even has a chance to register that I'm reacting to it.
That happens.
But yeah.
Wow.
So
that's good that you were able to, when you were coming down and you spoke with your daughter about why it bothers you and why you reacted that way, and that's really good to recognize it, and to mention it to her that I'm sorry about this. That's really good right there. And maybe down the road, but for now, just keep that scaring at bay and try to work on this.
I try to encourage her to, like, educate herself, too, about, like, you know, PTSD and, like, things that I may be experiencing, just so she better understands and knows. And she read a little bit about it and stuff like that, just so she can have a better understanding on everything.
That's good. She's educated on it. She understands your view. That's awesome.
She wants to be a therapist when she grows up.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
So,
yeah, giving her,
this is her start.
That's awesome. That's good. Very good.
Thank you.
So when you're talking about the noises that you're hearing, this brings me to my next question. You feel like you're always on guard?
Yeah. But I feel like I'm always on the defense. Like everything feels like a threat. Not like everything, but like if I feel like someone is being aggressive towards me, like I immediately, without even thinking about it, get like 10 times more aggressive. Like I just feel like I constantly have to be in protective mode. Like whenever someone feels like a threat, I get extremely like aggressive, and that's something that I have to really work on. I wasn't really like that before.
No, but the incident that happened, anyone, you know, being attacked like you did,
and it was a
being
friend
in the hospital?
That did it. So, well, friend. So now it just
you
makes
knew
me
her.
feel it. Yeah.
That's
for like 10 years.
Oh my goodness.
So it just feels like you can't really trust anyone. Thank you.
Yeah, that's tough.
That it is.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I don't know. Makes you feel like you can't trust people.
Especially because you knew her for so long.
Yeah.
I'm sure you didn't see that coming.
Nope.
No.
Not for 1 second. It's like one of those twisted movies, like stories that you only see in the movies.
Yeah.
Like my good friend stabbed me.
Yeah. That
stuff only happens in the movies.
That's definitely heard than some kind of title, that's for sure. Now the physical pain, you feel a lot in your neck.
Yeah.
Do you also have dizzy spells, nausea?
Yeah. I'll get really dizzy. I get nauseous a lot. My neck, you know, if I move my neck too quickly, or I still even feels weird, like putting too much pressure on it. Although it's weird because, like, if you touch it, I don't have much sensation here because I lost a lot of feeling in that area.
Oh,
but
really?
like because of the surgery on my actual jugular, so if like you push hard enough, that internally still is like very sore and painful. So it's like a double whammy, the outside scar and the internal one. But yeah.
So hopefully in time though that this will heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully. It'll be a while till like the jugular actually like fully heals.
Yeah.
In time.
I just want to point out that the trauma that you encountered was a lot to go through. You know, being that it was your friend, you're in the hospital for 5 days, the blood transfusions, where it happened. I just want you to know that the problems that happened and the issues that you're having right now, it's not you. It's because of what happened.
Try to remember that.
Please do. I want you to understand that it's not you.
Yeah.
This wasn't you 4 months ago. Was it?
2.
But for what I'm
prior,
saying,
yes. Yeah.
You were okay.
Yeah, I was a pretty normal human being. Now I feel like I'm the complete opposite. Like I'm a freaking basket case. Literally. It's crazy.
I know you may feel that way, and I totally get it, but you being here talking about it, instead of just under the rug, forget about it. No, you're addressing it now. That's a big step.
I just really don't want to, bleed on my kid. Like, I don't want to transfer all these issues to her and, have her have anxiety and depression or suffer. I just don't want to, do that to her. So I need to just get back to being me. Just being mom.
That's good that you said that. Because she's seeing that you're fixing yourself. You're trying to work on it. You talking to her about it. You educating on her. I mean, you said right there that she wants to become a therapist.
Yeah.
That right there is good. That is awesome.
No, absolutely.
Okay, so if you don't mind, we'll get into the event, okay?
Sure.
Okay. And like I said, we'll take breaks in between, mindfulness, deep breathing. Do you want to do some deep breathing before we get started?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
I'm a little anxiety ridden right now.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
This topic makes me tired.
What? This topic? Yeah. Okay. You want to take a little coffee with it?
Yeah. Yeah, I will.
Okay. So we'll begin starting being mindful. Okay. What are you looking at?
The trees.
Good. Good. And what do you feel?
Cool breeze.
Good. Okay. And you're sitting on the seats. You feel the seat, and you feel the magnets.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. And what do you smell?
Faint hint of peppermint.
Good. Good, good, good. What do you hear?
Some cars in the background.
Good, good. Okay. I'm going to take 3 deep breaths. You can close your eyes if you want. Okay, I'm going to breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Okay, good.
Ugh, I get so tired.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it's okay.
Okay. We're ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's up to you if you want to close your eyes or open your eyes. If you close them, I might have you do a little bit more mindfulness because I don't want you to go quite 100% have it in your body in that bar. Just talking about the story, your mind, getting into it. Okay?
Okay.
Whenever you're ready to begin.
It's a little easier if I just kind of close my eyes.
That's fine. That's fine.
We were out to celebrate one of my good friends' new job that she got. She got a job as a social worker, and it was just her and I. To begin with, we were just going to have a casual drink. My daughter was at a friend's house, and the girl that attacked me texted me and asked me if she could come out and have a drink with us too. And I was already distancing myself from her because I started feeling like something was just off with her. Something wasn't right. So I just started distancing myself from her, and she definitely could feel me pulling away. So like the more I pulled away, the more she tried to push towards me. And she was just kind of like, I'm going through a lot, and you always help me feel better, and I just really need someone to talk to. And that's a weak spot for me when I feel like people need someone to talk to. So I'm like, sure, come out with us or whatever. And so we're just having a casual drink. I think we got through like 1 drink, and then me and my friend were gonna leave to go to another bar it's like a pub, more of a pub, that has food, and because we were hungry, so we wanted to get food too. And she was like, oh, can I come with you guys too, blah blah blah. So we went there, and let me rewind a little bit. So prior to this, there was an incident, not an incident per se, but just like there was a topic that her and I had a little bit of conflict about, that I told her that I didn't want to further discuss. It didn't have to do necessarily with us. It had to do with a friend of mine and a friend of hers. And I knew that the conversation was going to become a problem. Like, I knew it was just going to get aggressive. It was going to turn into conflict. So I just told her, like, let's not have this conversation. Let's just leave it be. There's no reason for us to further discuss it. That was the agreement. Mm-hmm. So now we're back at the second place at the pub, and we're getting food, and we ordered another round of drinks, and we just start talking, and then she starts bringing up the conversation that I already had told her that I didn't want to talk about. And I just said, like, I already told you I didn't want to have this conversation. Let's just leave it at that. But she's the type of person that she doesn't know her boundaries, and she doesn't really know how to respect other people's boundaries either, so she pushes and she pushes and she pushes, and she continued to bring it up, and then now we're engaging in this conversation, and I can feel it's taking a turn for the worse, and we start arguing about it, and I told her, like, listen, I'm not going to do this shit with you, I'm not going to fight with you over this stuff. And then she starts getting disrespectful, and she starts swearing, and then the argument just gets worse and worse. And then she tells me, what are you going to do? Because I told her, like, you know, you really need to shut your mouth. Like, I'm not going to have this argument with you anymore. And then she was just like, oh, so what are you going to do about it? And then things just progressively got worse after that. And then my friend Steph tried to de-escalate the situation, but it was like, it was too much at that point. And then she was like, well, then why don't we go outside? And I went to go get out of the booth, and she had a crossbody bag on, and she went inside her purse. I didn't think anything of it, and I wasn't really paying attention, because at that point my mind was just kind of, I don't know, I was like completely detached at that point. So she got up and we started fighting, and in the middle of the fight I didn't realize that I was stabbed. So they broke us up, and I had a jacket on that was zippered all the way up to my chin. So I went to go pull my jacket down, and I like felt my hands really sticky, that my hands were really sticky. And then I looked down at my hands, and they were drenched in blood. And everyone started running over to me like, oh my God, you're soaked in blood. And it was like, when I say soaked, like to the tops of my knees on my jeans were soaked in blood. Like when I was walking, you could hear the blood in my shoes as I walked. I still remember literally, like, it was like ksh, ksh, ksh. That's how much blood there was. And I was like, it's not my blood, like I'm fine, like I feel fine. And there was an older woman, and she came over to me, and she was like, unzippered my jacket, and obviously you can imagine what this looks like torn open. And she unzippers my jacket, and she starts freaking out, and she's like, oh my God, it's you, honey, you're bleeding, it's you, you're bleeding everywhere. And it was just like squirting out of my neck at that point. And that's why I was bleeding so much, because I had my zipper zipped all the way up to my chin, and the blood was just like going down instead. So that's why like the tops of my jeans were so soaked and everything like that. And at that point it kind of hit me, like, because I put my hand up to my neck and I felt the blood coming out, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm really bleeding. And then another kid ran up to me, and he was like, listen, I've been stabbed before, and I'm telling you right now, like, you got to get to the hospital, because you're gonna bleed out here. And at that point, like, my knees started giving out on me. I started feeling really tired and really woozy. And so my friend Steph and this kid that I don't know, I met him after to say thank you to him, but they dragged me to my car, because at that point I couldn't stand anymore. So they dragged me to my car and got me in the passenger side seat, and he was just telling my friend Steph, because I kept saying that I was tired and I wanted to go to sleep. And he kept telling my friend Steph, like, you have to keep talking to her, like, you have to keep stimulating her, like, clap, scream, yell, just keep her engaged. Whatever you do, don't let her go to sleep. And so obviously at this point my friend is just hysterical. She's incoherent, like screaming, crying, completely just out of it. And I was just kind of laying there, like, I was going in and out. It's like when you're really, really tired in your bed, and like, you know, you have to wake up, but like sleep just keeps like pulling you back in, and you keep passing back out. That's exactly how it feels. So I'm hearing her yelling at me, and she's like, I started like dozing off, and started shoving me really, really hard, because I remember I ended up bumping my head on the damn window, and she shoved me really hard. She's like, you gotta wake up, you gotta wake up. And I just looked over at her, and I said, I'm gonna die. I said, I need you to call my mom and dad and my daughter right now so I can say goodbye to them. And she's like, you're not gonna die. We're gonna make it. We're almost at the hospital. You just gotta stay awake. And I just kept saying, like, I'm not gonna make it, and I just really need you to call her. And you know, we went back and forth, and then finally we pulled up in front of the ER, and I couldn't get out of the car. I didn't have any physical strength. And a week prior to this, my uncle died. And I'm not really religious at all, but when we got there, and she's like in the middle of the parking lot screaming for help, and she's trying to grab me out of the car, and at this point she's literally begging me, please, please, please just stand up. I need you to get up, Ashlee. Please, please, please. You're going to die in this parking lot if you don't get up. And I just said, like, I didn't have any strength. I literally couldn't move my arms, my legs. And the craziest thing happened. And then literally just heard like a voice in my head. I don't know if it was my own subconscious or whatever it was, but just a voice in my head, like, you gotta get up, Ashlee. Like, you gotta get up. You gotta get out of this car. You're gonna die. You need to get up. You need to get up now. And by some insane miracle, I had enough energy to be able to, after Steph pulled me out of the car, I had enough energy to get up on my feet and get into that hospital. When I walked in, it was in the middle of the night, and the nurses were all just kind of at the desk and on their cell phones. And at that point, I forgot that they tied a shirt around my neck, so to help with the bleeding. So that was like drenched by that time. So once we walked in, I undid the shirt around my neck and I said, I need some help, guys. And the blood just splattered all over the hospital floor in 2 seconds. I mean, those nurses' faces were like, they never seen something like that before. They flew out of those chairs, had me on the stretcher, and I was going in and out this whole time. So sometimes it's hard to remember what was really happening and what wasn't really happening, but there's like really significant moments where I remember. And you know, they were one of the doctors were like, she's a level 1 trauma. We're not equipped for a level 1 trauma because that's the worst trauma that you can be. Like, we're not equipped for level 1 trauma, so we have to try our best to stabilize her so we can transport her to UMass so she can go in for emergency surgery. The stab wound grazed her jugular, so we need to, you know, stop this bleeding, otherwise this kid's gonna bleed out. And I was like talking to the doctor, or at least I thought I was, but then I read my ED notes and it said like I was like completely incoherent. But I asked him, like, is this serious enough for me to die? And he just quietly said to me, he said, I'm gonna need you to stop talking, okay, because that's what I'm trying to stop from happening right now. And it was just kind of like a shock, so I just kind of laid there, and I think I might have fell asleep, but they kept trying to keep me awake and stimulate me. And I had 2 nurses, one on the left and one on the right. I remember Carolyn and Sarah, the only 2 people that I remember their names, because it was just a weird moment. And one of them was trying to stop the bleeding, because I also didn't realize that I had a stab wound on my arm too. I wasn't aware of that, so they were trying to stop the bleeding on both. Obviously the jugular was the most important. And the nurse Carolyn was just holding my hand and just kind of trying to soothe me, because then I started getting like, started crying and stuff like that. And she's just like, I need you to relax, like, everything's gonna be okay, you know, we're here, you're safe, we're gonna take care of you. And I just kept begging her. I'm like, I just want to go to bed, like, I'm really tired and I just want to sleep. And she was holding my hand and she's like, you can't go to sleep, okay, like, it's not time for you to go to sleep yet, and we need you to stay awake, okay? And I said, you know, I'm just tired. I was like crying. I'm like, I'm tired and I can't fight anymore. And she said, do you have kids? And I said, yeah, I have a daughter. And she goes, okay, you fight for her all the time, right? And I said, yeah, but I do. She goes, okay, so this is what I need you to do. I need you to picture your daughter's face in your head, and I need you to fight for her right now. And I need you to fight really hard. And she goes, because if those eyes close, they're never going to be able to look at their daughter again, okay? And you want to see her again, right? And I said, of course I do. So obviously I, you know, fought real hard. And then they were able to stabilize me and get me to UMass, where the shit didn't end there. So they got me to the OR and transported me immediately, and I went straight up to the trauma unit for emergency surgery. And during emergency surgery, I went into respiratory failure. My lungs collapsed during the surgery, so they went to intubate me to help me to breathe. And upon intubation, I started vomiting profusely. My O2 dropped to like 34%. I was barely even alive at that point. I was in surgery for 5 hours, about 5.5 hours, and my mom didn't find out till the middle of the night. And one of my friends called her and said, they didn't even give her the details. They just said Ashlee was attacked. She's in the OR, and Steph's at the precinct. They took my friend Steph for questioning because they thought that she stabbed me. That's another story. But so my mom called the hospital. Obviously she was like completely distraught. Called the hospital, and because of the nature of the crime, I was Jane Doe in the system, so you couldn't locate me at all. For anyone else knew that I didn't even exist in that hospital. And she was begging them to give her information. So at that point, she just got her clothes on. She drove straight to the hospital, and she got to the trauma unit, and she was crying hysterically, begging the woman to tell her something. And they're like, ma'am, you know, we can't. All we can tell you is that, she was showing her ID. She's like, all that we can tell you is that your daughter is here and she's in surgery. And my mom was like, please just tell me, is she alive? Is she okay? And she's like, ma'am, I'm sorry, we can't give you that information right now. And my mom was like, you know, I just literally stood in that waiting room on my knees, crying hysterically, begging God to take me instead and to keep you here. And she was like, then the doctor came out. She was like, and I thought, you know, the look that doctor had on his face, I just knew that he was coming out to tell me that you didn't make it. She was like, and then he came out and he said, Miss Surdy, and she was like, please tell me that she's stable. And he said, I'm sorry, Miss Surdy, I can't tell you that your daughter's stable right now because she's not stable. We're currently having trouble with intubation. She was a victim of multiple stab wounds. She was sliced in her throat and her jugular was grazed, and we are struggling to stop the bleeding and keep her. And my mom he was like, you know, but they're still working on her and we'll have more information. And she was like, I just remember I was standing up and the doctor told me that, and then I just hit the floor, and all I did was just sit, and I just begged God over and over and over again, please, please, her daughter needs her, we need her, please just keep my daughter alive. And
okay, let's come back to mindfulness and take a deep breath. Okay, all right, what are you looking at?
Trees.
Okay, what do you feel?
The magnets.
Okay, what do you smell?
A little bit of peppermint.
Okay, where are you?
At school.
Yeah, you're safe.
In your office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, let's take 3 deep breaths, okay? Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Deep breath in. Exhale. Deep breath in. Exhale. How you feeling?
A little dizzy. But okay. It's been a while since I've gone through that entire story.
You did really
step by step.
Yeah. You did amazing. And it's a lot. And there's a lot of things that for you to remember a lot of stuff that just happened, that's really good. And I didn't want to interrupt because you kept going, and that was good.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't remember a lot of stuff because I had to figure out what was really reality and what was maybe something that I thought happened. And the memories, the more that I try to process it, the more the memories come to the forefront. Before, it was just so much bits and pieces, and I know that there's still a lot that I miss in exactly what happened, but it's coming back more and more.
Plus, the things that you told me, there's a lot of details, and 5.5 hours, your lungs collapse. And then you had a wound on your arm.
Yeah, I got stabbed underneath my arm. Yeah, that was a little in comparison to the neck.
Yeah, a lot more. And for your mom to get that call and not being able to.
I didn't know my mom's story until probably about 2 weeks ago. Yeah. She didn't really share it with me because she didn't want that to weigh so heavy on me.
She knew that you had a lot on your plate. And
I wasn't really emotionally processing. When I tell you, I didn't even really cry about anything. I didn't cry about pain. I didn't really cry about what happened to me. I felt why is everyone making it, such a big deal? Not that I felt like that, but, that's how it felt in my head. Is it really that big of a deal? It's weird how I felt about the situation. There wasn't many emotional moments after I had one with my daughter. My daughter's very introverted. She's not very vocal about her feelings, but she just sat at the end of my bed, and she just, because her dad's absent, and she just sat at the end of my bed after we got home from the hospital, and she like patted my feet, and I just looked at her, and her eyes were all glossy, and I said, it's all right, honey, what's the matter? She said, I don't want to talk too much about it. I'm just happy that God let me keep you. And obviously that was a very difficult moment to hear. And then my mom randomly just texted me and was like, I just really need you to know how happy I am that you're here, and that you're alive, and that I'm not visiting a tombstone, a headstone right now. And then I just, asked her, like, what was your experience with everything? And she was like, I didn't really want to talk to you about it. Not that I didn't want to talk to you about it, but I just feel like you had too much on your plate. And then, she shared what her and my dad went through, and that was like that was the first time that I think, like,
really
I really, really, really felt it, like the weight of what happened, like just how significant this trauma was, like how real and severe it was, and just how it affected so many people, and how it affected my friend Steph. Like, we're friends for 12 years, like she's one of my best friends, and like I couldn't imagine this shoe being on the other foot, where I was watching her literally, like, her throat is slit and I'm watching her bleed out. I couldn't imagine the trauma that she was really messed up about it after a while too. But I don't know, I think I was so worried about how it affected other people that I never really focused on how it affected me, and I just kind of suppressed it, and just, I don't know, but it's still there. It's there all the time. I see it in how aggressive I get quick when I feel like I'm being threatened, or someone's being aggressive with me, or I'm always on the defense. I'm always so hyper vigilant. I'm always searching crowds, and loud noises shake me to the core. Like, I don't know. The sight of her car makes my stomach turn. Like, there's so many triggers everywhere. It's just learning that I'm gonna experience those things. I just need to learn how to handle it more effectively without it just like setting off my entire day. It takes me a while to come back down.
I can definitely understand why to come back down from the anxiety and everything being told, because it's still so new. Listening to everyone else's stories, and then your emotions coming from that, and then thinking about your own story. Things are going to come up here and there, but talking about it is good. When it does happen, or you have a trigger, do you have any, like I'd say quick coping strategy to kind of get yourself back in that present moment so you're not going back?
I try to just like breathe. I'll close my eyes and just try to breathe and remind myself that I am safe, and that I'm not back there. Like, I try to reinforce it, like you survived for a reason, and
yes,
you have a purpose, and that this is just another story for you to tell, and I try to think about things like that, and usually it will help me.
It's a great positive right there, because the story that you have, and when as time goes by, you can help others that go through the same thing. And that nurse that you were talking about, how you were kind of falling back in sleep back and forth, and she mentioned something that really must have motivated you and kept you awake, and it was your daughter, right? Thinking about your daughter. You're gonna survive and see her face.
She's always the motivator.
Yeah.
Literally.
Absolutely. She's half you. Yeah. Of course.
She has such a twisted sense of humor, like me too, and she, after a little while, joked around. She goes, well, Mom, you always said that I'm your lifeline. She goes, I guess you really put that to the test that day, huh?
She said that. As sad as the event, but it is good that she said something like that, and she has your humor, and that's
I wouldn't have fought that hard.
Beautiful like that.
I was tired. I probably would have let go and just gave up. The craziest feeling is feeling your body shut down on you.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
I cannot imagine that feeling. It must have been scary.
Terrifying.
Oh, just that feeling of you letting go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's amazing how you were in your car on the passenger side, and your friend Stephanie was trying to get you out, and you couldn't. You felt like you couldn't. You were paralyzed. You said, and you mentioned how your uncle died, and I'm so sorry about the loss.
Thank you.
And you felt like you might have heard his voice to kind of say, "Hey, get up."
I didn't walk into that hospital on my own that day. It was not my friend's stuff that was able to get me into that hospital that day. Even the doctors after the surgery came up and were like, listen, kid, someone was on your side, because by the time that you made it with all the blood that you lost, you probably had 2 or 3 minutes left. You would have died in that parking lot. Like, somebody was watching over you, kid, that day. You know, my mom gets upset, and she sometimes thinks, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe my grandmother too, like, she's kind of like I don't know how to say it, but she said, like, you know, maybe your uncle knew, like, maybe your uncle gave his life to save yours. Maybe there had to be a sacrifice that was made. And maybe, you know, maybe. It's just crazy.
He knew it wasn't your time.
Yeah.
Maybe he knew. He wanted to help. That's it.
Somebody got me in there.
Someone helped.
That they did.
Yeah.
I know that for sure. I definitely do.
Yeah. You're here and you're back.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this. This is a lot.
Yeah.
That's really good.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to talk about. But it feels, I know I have to.
That's good.
I don't really have a choice.
So do you have self-care things that you're doing more or trying to do more to help you with this?
I've been journaling a lot.
Good.
Talking about it, I realize, you know, I have the whole you gotta go through it to get through it type deal. Mm-hmm. So not talking about it hasn't helped, so now I have to take another course of action. So, and I don't always want to talk to other people about it necessarily, so just journaling about it has been good. It's helping me put the pieces together, which is helpful. So yeah, that, and just doing mindfulness breathing and stuff like that. Or like whenever I have like a trigger, I try to put classical music on after, which is pretty soothing and seems to help regulate me and relax me a little bit. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Good. It's good to, if a trigger does happen or you have that flashback, it's good to try to be mindful to get back to where you are right now. You don't want to go completely back into the past.
No.
It will not help. Try to be mindful, thinking of your 5 senses, of what you're looking at, what you smell, what you feel. And, you know, if you're eating something, I would definitely hold on to those taste buds of what you're tasting. And, you know, deep breathing, that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you mind if we try to do the mindfulness deep breathing again?
Sure.
Okay, good. All right. What are you looking at?
The trees.
Good. What do you feel?
The magnets in my hand.
What do you smell?
Still some faint hint of peppermint.
Okay, good. Do you hear anything?
Birds chirping.
Yeah, I heard that one too. Good. Okay, we're going to take 3 deep breaths. Breathe in. Breathe out. Take a deep breath in. Out. Deep breath in. Out. Do one more. Deep breath in. out. Open your eyes. Remember where you are. Good. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I find you so brave talking about this.
Thank you.